by the late Archbishop of Trivandrum, servant of God, His Grace Ivonias, an unusual visionary and powerful prelate in the model of Shantiniketan on 1st August 1949. Today, 68 years later, standing resplendent in Diamond Jubilee splendor, Ivonias College proudly claims the position of the most sought-after higher education institution in the state of Kerala, the promised land for thousands who come seeking the milk and honey of knowledge. Verita la vo librabe, truth that liberates all minds from the bondage of ignorance, that expels all darkness from human hearts, has become the watchword of this college and a host of other prestigious institutions that have now got established around the Ivonias College, turning this vast campus into a township of higher learning. Good morning and a very warm welcome to all the distinguished guests who have graced the haloed portals of Ivonias College as it opens up its magical world of poetry to take you on a flight of fancy. Poetry is Eucharistic. 21 distinguished poets from across the world have convened here to partake in the communion of their passion and to make a community with others. Offering them benediction is our dear Bishop, himself a scholarly poet. Indeed, it is a bliss to be alive in this dawn. We will begin invoking the blessings of God. To lead us in prayer, we have Ms. Sandhya Mavelil and Ms. Shruti, members of the Faculty of English and proud former students of our alma mater. Shall we all stand for the prayer song? Overflow of powerful emotions recollected. When Dr. Abraham Joseph speaks, his words become poetry. The cadence of his words resonate his passion for his alma mater and the Department of English, which he had been heading for the last 6 years, making even strangers fall in love with this campus. A renowned orator and a legend of the quizzing world, Dr. Abraham Joseph has been the vital force that made this confluence a reality. It is my privilege to invite the head of the Department of English to welcome the dignitaries who has graced us with their presence.
Reverend Father Principal, Reverend Father Bursa, distinguished poets from across the globe, Director of Kritya International Film Poetry Festival, Dr. Ravi Saxena, respected teachers, our dear students. In the last 40 years I have been a member of this family. I don't recall an event of this nature. So many singing birds are native to our blessed Bethany Hills. But never before in the history of this college has such an array of singing birds come to this college. This is a moment of great happiness and history is being made here. And at the outset I must thank Dr. Ravi Saxena for the generosity of her heart in bringing all these wonderful poets to the blessed Bethany Hills, so that we get acquainted with a variety of hues and views that poetry alone can provide in this global village. We all know that poetry is a cultural marker. Every society has its own contribution to world literature. And we have here today representatives from about 20 countries. And most of these countries we are familiar with because of world news or the map. But after today, we have names and faces to tag to the names of these countries. If you look at, I think one of the farthest countries represented here is Mexico, or Sweden, or Turkey. We all know some names from the history books. But from today onwards, more than history and geography, it is a people-to-people contact that is being established. And this is so important in our divided world. Poetry occupies a space which is between or on the cusp of stillness and stir, of silence and sighs. Poetry addresses the well springs of our laughter and our tears. Poetry is the fountain of our collective wisdom. It is an activity we cannot ignore because where science fails, where religion sometimes doesn't deliver its main reason for its very existence, raison d'etre, to bring people together, poetry, music can bring people together. And that is why we, all of us in the Marivanis family, are so indebted to the organizers of this festival. And it is with them that I should start my welcome address. A very warm welcome to each poet who has come to our college to regale us with their wisdom and also the power of poetry. The power of poetry to explore the dark recesses of the human mind. A most hearty welcome to each and every poet who has come to this college today. Your Grace, we are indebted to you for your presence. You are an old student, an old teacher, and a former principal of this college. And in the past several years, in your capacity as Auxiliary Bishop of Trivandrum and also our patron, you have guided the fortune and fame of this college. And we pray to Almighty God that you will be given many, many more years in which you could do the same thing, being the friend, guide and philosopher of this institution. Your Grace, I humbly welcome you to our midst. Dr. Adi Saxena, the last 2 months we have had so many discussions, and by the grace of the Lord, it has become a reality. You are most welcome to our midst. One of our eminent former teachers, Reverend Dr. Nainan Tharagan, who is a Sahitya Academy winner, has joined us. And Father, a most hearty welcome to this festival of poetry. Well, we have our teachers and our students. We are in it together. And the next 2 hours, we'll be enjoying the brilliant verse of these great poets. We will follow the music of these bards with oohs and ahs and occasional ohs as they take us on a flight of fancy across the world, across the universe, across time and space. A most hearty welcome to all of you. Thank you very much.
Presiding over this function is Dr. Gigi Thomas, our charioteer, the logical mathematician with a poetic heart and soul, a loyal friend of literature and a silent companion of words. He has been our inspiration and strength in this journey. A true and genuine friend, philosopher and guide, Marivanis College is fortunate to have this dynamic administrator at the helm of affairs. Father, I most cordially invite you to deliver the presidential address.
His Excellency Samuel Bararelius, Auxiliary Bishop of Trivandrum, Reverend Father Bertha, Dr. Abraham Joseph, Head of the Department of English, Dr. Reddy Saxena, Director of Kritya International Poetry Festival, Dr. Nanyan Tarigan, distinguished guests from across the world, my colleagues, and our dear students. I am a man from mathematics background, and being someone from mathematics background, I am sure that I am an illiterate layman on this floor of high priests of arts and poetry. But I looked at some of the famous quotes, and two quotes came for my rescue. And the first quote is from none other than Albert Einstein. And he says, "Pure mathematics is, in its way, the poetry of logical ideas." And the second quote comes from Flaubert, the French novelist. And he says, "Poetry is as precise as geometry." So consoled and strengthened by the quotes of these famous people, I stand before you to say a few words of felicitations. I salute you all poets, eminent poets from across the world. We are immensely privileged to host you here today in Ivonias College. W.H. Auden, himself an English-American poet, has characterized poets before anything else as persons who are passionately in love with language. Great minds have always praised glories of poetry. Opinions differ as to the beginnings of poetry, but all agree that poetry existed many millennia before Christ. I think the exclamation of the first man when he saw the first woman itself was a poem. "The bone of my bones and the flesh of my flesh." Great minds have always extolled this glory, and Somerset Maugham calls poetry the crown of literature. Apart from being a thing of beauty and of flowery expression, poetry has also made the clarion call for social change and has been a vehement mouthpiece of social criticism. How many revolutions have been ignited, and how many social changes have been effected? How many superstitions have been uprooted, and how many bondages have been let loose, all through the power and might of poetry. It is in this sense that poets are often called the unacknowledged legislators of the world. They have given voice to the voiceless, freedom to the oppressed, and justice to the exploited. I am happy to note that the theme of Kritya-Poetry Festival 2017 is Poetry Against Racism and Xenophobia. This we all agree is a highly relevant theme, even in India. I say even in India because India was always famous for its tolerance and coexistence. But today this theme seems relevant even in India. We are seeing rising atrocities and divisions among various sections of society based on religion, caste, color, and political ideologies. One of the missions of Kritya, I understand, is to establish and strengthen a fraternity of peace and mutual understanding through the medium of poetry. God is the greatest poet. The very word poet has its etymology in the Greek word poio, which means I create. And hence God is the greatest creator and He is the greatest poet. And He has created the world in truth and beauty. But human selfishness destroys divine plan. It is our duty to propagate harmony, peace, oneness and fraternity and bring the world back to the poetic beauty willed by God. India is a land of rich multiplicity and diversity, and this diversity shows India's beauty. We wish and pray that we stand together in all possible ways to retain our freedom and unity of mind, irrespective of all outward differences. I wish and pray that this poetry festival inspire us to attain this great end. It will be a mortal sin to steal any more of your precious time. So I wish you all the best, and I thank once again all the great minds that have gathered from across the world today in our college. And I congratulate Dr. Abraham Joseph, head of the Department of English, for taking all the hard work for organizing this historic event in our college. Thank you and thank you.
As the former principal, Bursar, member of the Faculty of Malayalam, and a former student of this college, Kochu Pidava, as we affectionately call him, His Grace Most Reverend Dr. Samuel Mar Ivonias, the Auxiliary Bishop of Trivandrum Major Archdiocese, has endeared himself to generations of students and is an inseparable and integral part of our institution. His humane, charismatic social presence is a balm to the needy and the marginalized. An erudite scholar and orator, he has delved deep into poetry, as is evident from his research work on the poems of Dr. Ayyappa Panikar. I very respectfully invite His Grace to light the traditional lamp and inaugurate the International Poets Meet being hosted by Marivani's College in association with Kritya. His Grace will be joined by the Principal Dr. Gigi Thomas, Dr. Kritya2017, the Festival Director, Dr. Abraham Joseph, and Sri Vipin VP, the College Union General Secretary.
Dr. Kritya2017, Dr. Abraham Joseph, Father Bursar, Reverend Dr. Nanan Dagadan, distinguished guests from far and near, respected teachers and dear students. I am happy to be in your midst today, to be part of this assembly of poets from around 20 nations. My mind is full of the images of my career in this great institution as a teacher of Malayalam poetry. I recall the enthusiasm with which students of many generations have enjoyed the rhythm, sense and sensibility of poetry. My PhD thesis was on the works of a scholarly poet, Dr. Ayyappa Panikar, who taught us to laugh aloud and think deeply about the dark realities of life. In the ancient world, the Greeks called their poets creators, and the Romans called their poets visionaries. Poets with their deep understanding of life have given new awareness and direction to entire nations. They throw light on the dim and forgotten aspects of life, which are essential in drawing a fuller picture of our existence, whether it is to teach or entertain. Poets go beyond the particular to the universal. This universality of poetry is evident in this gathering of poets with various backgrounds, languages, themes and ideas. Together we can see how a generation can interpret the past, record the present, and shape the future. I shall now recite a poem of 16 lines by the Malayalam poet Kumaranashan, who was among the leading romantic poets of Kerala. A child is playing with its mother in the garden. It observes butterflies fluttering among the flowers, and asks, why some flowers fly? The mother corrects her by saying that the flying flowers are butterflies. She then gently enlightens the child about the harmony of life in spite of differences. That the child can move about, the butterfly can fly, and the flowers can do neither. It's all part of the divine design. The roles of a mother, a friend, guide and philosopher are evident here. The child is corrected, but not ridiculed for his fancy. A thought is implanted in his mind which will help it in appreciating differences or variety in life. Here is the poem. Kuttiyum Kallayum by Kumaranashan. ഈ വല്ലിയിൽ നിന്നു ചെമ്മേ പൂക്കൾ പോകുന്നിതാ പറന്നമ്മേ തെറ്റി നിനക്കുണ്ണി ചൊല്ലാൽ പൂമ്പാറ്റകളല്ലേ ഇതെല്ലാം മേൽക്കുമേലിങ്ങിവ പൊങ്ങി വിണ്ണിൽ നോക്കമ്മേ എന്തോരു ഭംഗി അയ്യോ പോയി കൂടി കളിപ്പാൻ അമ്മേ വയ്യേ എനിക്കു പറപ്പാൻ ആകാത്തതിങ്ങനെ എണ്ണി ചുമ്മാ മാഴ്വല്ല എന്നോമലുണ്ണി പിച്ച നടന്നു കളിപ്പൂ നീ പിച്ചകമുണ്ടോ നടപ്പൂ അമ്മട്ടിലായതെന്തെന്നാൽ ഞാനോ ഉമ്മ തരാമമ്മ ചൊന്നാൽ നാം ഇങ്ങറിയുവതൽപ്പം എല്ലാ ഓമനെ ദേവസങ്കൽപ്പം. On behalf of the management of Ivonias College, I have great joy in inaugurating Flies of Fancy, this rare coming together of poets from across the world. I thank Kritya and the festival director, Dr. Kritya2017, for choosing our college as a venue. Congratulations to the college and the Department of English for hosting the event. His Beatitude, Basilius Cardinal Clemens Catholicos, the father and head of the Suramalangara Catholic Church, has invited the guests to join him today for lunch at the Major Archbishop's house. I hope you will accept this invitation. My best wishes to all of you. May God bless us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Grace. Dr. Kritya Saxena, the vibrance behind Kritya, is an eminent Hindi poet, academic critic and Sanskrit scholar. She has been instrumental in bringing these eminent men of letters to our homeland. She has already conducted 3 international festivals and this is her 4th. Ma'am, we are eager to listen to you.
His Grace, Most Reverend Dr. Mark Ivonias and Dr. Principal, Mr. Abraham, the teachers, students, audience, and my poet friends from around the world. This is the 11th Poetry Festival, not 4th. We have started in 2005 a poetry festival. The story behind it was that was a time when poetry was almost disappeared. There was a questions critics started asking that why there is a space for the poetry in any journals. And it was happening in whole India in all languages. There was discussions that poetry does not have any place because we have music, we have Bollywood, we have dance, we have painting and other things. So what is the place for the poetry? And at that time, we have to brought back the poetry in the center because the poetry is the base of any language. This is the language of a humanity. Mr. Principal, you are mathematicians, but you know that Leelavatiyam was written in poetry. It is the best poetry and best mathematic book in Sanskrit, which was written long back. So, what you are saying, yes, it is said that mathematicians are best poets, but poets are not good teachers. The way Abraham talk, I cannot. We poets cannot talk. We don't have so beautiful languages. We have beautiful thinking, but not beautiful languages. We cannot speak like you. So I will be speaking very low meant language. So what I tell that in 2005, around this from 2002, we were struggling, and I have started a web journal at that time in 2005. This was a bilingual, and it was the first web journal for the poetry. I worked hard for it with so many friends like B.D. Dattan and others. And that time when Ayappa Panikar saw it, he said that, why don't you start a poetry festival? And I said, what is it? I said, you need not know what is it. You start it. That is what his way of talking. That's what his way of bringing things in his people. And then he arranged one poetry festival in 2005, and that was only the Kavalam Narayan Panikar, B.D. Dattan, Vinay Chandran, and all took place, and a theatre and dance and drama and everything started. And then he guided us that you have to go to whole India with the languages so that this poetry should be, translation is the most important for the poetry, so you have to go to different places. And we have gone to, next year we have gone to Jammu and Kashmir, and that time only we lost Ayappa Panikar. So our first international poetry festival was in 2007 in the memory of Ayappa Panikar. And then we have gone to Punjab, Mysore, Nagpur, then we came back. This is the 5th poetry festival in Kerala. Yes, here you are right, but in whole India it is 11th festival. So we were just moving, and last 3 years I thought that why don't I stay here, because I'm getting old and I'm getting tired. So if I move a lot, the work is too much. So that is why And this poetry festival is very important because what we are seeing these days, the political changes in whole world, the kind of mentality is changing. Suddenly we feel that we are not human, we are not Indians, or we are not, you belong to this state, you belong to this language, you belong to this caste. Suddenly we started thinking, learning it. And this is very painful and this is very fearful. We are afraid because you are asking us to forget about your humanity and we have to raise our voice. We are killed. So many writers are killed in the last 2 years in India. And because why? Because they are asking questions. Poets, see, scholars, they teach you. But poets ask questions. And we were asking questions. And you are killing us. So we brought here all the voices. Who can raise the voice that why we want to raise our voice? We are against your such a petty mentality. We don't follow your rules. We follow only this. We all are human. We are one. So I say that these poet friends from different countries are not from different countries. They are from universe, earth, and all of our brothers and sisters. And that is where. I'm grateful to Abraham, whom I met, I think 30 years or 40 years back, and he remembered my name, and when I called him, and he was very happy and grateful to come here. It is our benefit. I do not know it is your benefit or not, it is our benefit. One thing, that such a wonderful college institution, it's not college, I say that it is a wonderful institution. We have a wonderful audience, and sir, who himself is a poet, so it is our benefit. So I am really grateful to you, and we will start our poetry reading. Thank you.
Before we start with our international poets, we have our own pride, Reverend Dr. Anil Nayantharagan, the former principal of one of our sister institutions and the former faculty member of the Department of English. His research has been on the topic, the influence of Bhagavad Gita on Matthew Arnold's poems. I invite Dr. Anil Nayantharagan to read one of his poems.
Metropolitan Bishop Mark Ivonias, very Reverend Father Principal, distinguished Professor Abraham Joseph, eminent poets from different parts of the world, Reverend Father Barsa, distinguished faculty of the college, fathers, sisters and friends. A few lines from Vesta by the Tomb, from a book that was published some years ago in the University of Notre Dame, America. The poem is known as Vesta by the Tomb, a poem that profiles the life of Saint Alphonse of Barnanyanam, Kerala, who in this poem is the speaker. Beaten lanes, in the cave of my heart, in the desert of my cosmic self, I recapture the self-same mystery as I sit at the Lord's feet, hidden in the depths. Inner nudity ablaze with the light that comes from within is the goal I set myself. I delve deep into the inner currents, into the eddies, into the whirlpools. On the precipice of timelessness, I stand ready for the plunge into the unknown, into the ineffable, into the nameless patterns, into God of Abraham, into God of Isaac, into God of Jacob, into the certitude. Thank you.
Now we come to the end of the formal part of the inaugural ceremony. We end it with a vote of thanks by our student representative, the General Secretary of the College Union, Sri Vipin VP, who is a second EC English Literature student.
Distinguished guests on the dais, respected delegates, A very warm morning to one and all. It's an immense pride for us, the Department of English of Ivonias College, to host such a wonderful and gracious event in association with Kritya. The Department of English is a golden feather on the crown of this wonderful college. The flight of fancy turned out to be a novel and auspicious experience for our college, and we sincerely extend our wholehearted gratitude to people who have worked for its successful completion. Firstly, I would extend a warm gratitude to the guiding spirit and representative of management, His Grace Most Reverend Dr. Samuel Mar Ivonias, the Auxiliary Bishop of Trivandrum, Major Archdiocese, for his presence and words. Secondly, I would extend a warm gratitude to the fulcrum of our institution, our beloved principal, Reverend Father Gigi Thomas, for his support and advice. Next, I sincerely thank the heart and soul of our department, our beloved HOD, Dr. Evran Sir, for his support and guidance. And I would like to extend gratitude towards the vice principals and bursa of our institution. I would like to gladly extend a gratitude to Dr. Kritya2017, the Director of Poetry Festival, for the introductory remarks. Next, the warmth of gratitude from our heart is extended to the delegates who have come to present their poems here. Finally, to the audience who witnessed the whole program with eagerness and calm, thank you for lending your hearts and ears. And as the General Secretary of the College Union, it gives me tremendous pleasure to have been part of the program, and on behalf of the College Union, extend a warm gratitude to all those who have strived hard for the successful completion of this program to make it a grand success. Thank you.
As we eagerly await the literary manna from these erudite poets, I invite Ms. Anupama for the presentation of the introduction of the poets and the presentation of the poem.
And he has won many international prizes. He is a recipient of the Lotus Prize in 1982, European Homer Prize, Mihai Emanescu Prize, to name a few. Some of his well-known poems are Neither Rain Nor Poems, During the Seas, the Epic of Mustafa Sputi. Presently, he is a professor of Russian language and literature, and today he is presenting the poem Harmonica. His work has been translated in many languages. So let's welcome our first poet of the day, Mr. Atol Barbalu.
Okay, I mean.
Yeah, please.
First of all, I have to say something. My thanks, and I have been touched really deeply by your speeches about poetry. You truly emphasized the importance of poetry, not officially, but personally, sincerely, in sincerity. Congratulations for your speeches, of all of you. And I think that the people have a chance having such kind of teachers, professors, etc. Okay, I will read shortly the poem in Turkish, in my own language, but afterwards I would like to read in English translation another of my poems, because this poetry initiative dedicated to the against xenophobia and racism. Because of it, I would like to read another poem. Okay, now in Turkish, Harmonica. Karlı gecelerde, küçük istasyonlarda düdük çalan trenlere bayılıyorum. Tül perdeler ardında kadınlar gülüyor, tutup pencerelere tırmanıyorum. Bir şiir söylüyorum, sonra bir şarkı, sonra oturup ağlıyorum. Sonra bir güzel çiçeklenip sokaklarda mızıka çalıyorum. Bu kente her gece yağmur yağıyor ve ben her gece yeniden ölüyorum. Bu tren oraya gidecek, izlemeyin. Ne derseniz deyin, ben biniyorum. Now, a poem named Babies Don't Have Nations, but I have there is a little story of this poem. I was in a visit to Greece, our neighbor country. I was at the garden of my friends. At that moment, my daughter had 1 year. old. At the garden of my friends, the baby, a Greek baby, cried at the arms of her mother. I had an impression she's crying as my baby. You know, so this impression gave me the subject of that poem. Babies have no nations. I felt this for the first time far from my homeland. Babies don't have nations. The way they hold their heads is the same. They gaze with the same curiosity in their eyes. When they cry, the tone of their voices is the same. Babies are the blossoms of humankind, of roses the most pure, most the buds of roses. Some are fair fragments of light, some are dusty dark graves. Fathers, do not let them sleep your minds. Mothers, protect your babies. Silence them, silence them. Don't let them speak. Who would talk of war and destruction? Let us leave them to grow up with passion. May they sprout and burgeon like saplings. They are not yours, nor mine, nor anybody's. They belong to the whole world. They belong to the whole world. They are the apple of all humanity's eye. I felt this for the first time far from my homeland. Babies don't have nations. Babies are blossoms of humankind and our future's one and only hope. Translated by Walter G. Andrews.
To colleges, you can find that at least 5,000 students will make a queue to take his autograph. So you are lucky to listen to him. Now, thank you.
Good morning, all. I'm Lakshmi R. Doing my post-graduation in this college. I'm reading Harmonica. I'm nuts about the whistle-blowing trains in little stations, nights when it snows. Women smiling behind tall curtains. I cling and pull myself up on the windows. I write a poem, then sing a song. I sit there then and weep. Then do I blossom splendidly, playing the harmonica in the street. Every night it rains in the city, and newly each night I'm dead and gone. Don't hide it, the train goes there. Say what you will, I'm getting on. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, and thank you for all the beautiful thoughts that have been expressed. The poem I'm going to read was written in church. There was an idea that some poets spend some time in solitude in a church. And then those poems were collected and published as a book. And this is one of those poems. Trepp, taevateokarp keerdub lahti. Aste astmelt ja aasta-aastalt haihtudes selja taga. Ainult väsimus kasvab, kandes raskeid, ruskeid ja metsikuid õilsi, mõnikord viljugi. Sajab eoseid ja seoseid, sõnu purskub silmist ja kõrvust. Hinged on vaikus, hinged on tühjuse pinestav sära. Taevateokarp keerdub lahti aeglasse valgusse, algsesse kujutusse. Üks trepiaste veel ja meil tuleb meeletu ära.
I'm Tina Jude Francis, Associate Professor in the Department of English of this college. The title of the poem is Life Has No Story. Life has no story. Life is unfolding. Is it true that we get all that we wish? Is it true that we get all as we deserve? Is it true that we are caught by all we evaded? Time, you fleeting and far-fetching thing. Life is no story.
在漫长的旅途中，我常常看见灯光在山岗或荒野出现，有时它们一闪而过，有时老跟着我，像一双含情脉脉的眼睛，穿过树林，透过水塘，蓦然间又出现在山岗。这些黄的小星，使黑夜的大地显得温暖而亲切。我真想叫车子停下，朝着他们奔去。我相信任何一盏灯光都会改变我的命运。此后，我的人生就是另外一种风景。但我只是望着这些灯光，望着他们在黑暗的大地上一闪而过，一闪而过，沉默不语。我们的汽车飞驰，黑洞洞的车厢中，有人在我身旁。
Good morning, everyone. I'm Swati Janardhanan, doing post-graduation in English language and literature here. The poem is titled, On This Endless Journey. On this endless journey, I often see lights appearing through the mist in the mountains or in the wilderness. Sometimes they vanish after a moment. Sometimes they stay with us a long time. Like a pair of eyes radiating tenderness and love. They pass through forests and jump over lakes, then reappear from distant mists between hills. These tiny yellow stars give the dark earth a warm and friendly face. I want to stop the train and run towards them because I'm convinced that any lamplight whatsoever can change my fate. That from that moment, my life becomes a different landscape. But all I do is stare at the lights, stare as they flash by across the darkened earth. Our carriage silently speeds on. In the pitch dark compartment, someone sleeps soundly by my side.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy, proud and honored to be here in Kerala for my first time and in this wonderful college. You are so privileged. I would like to please publicly thank Kritya Saxena, my dear friend, for bringing me here to Kerala, my dream trip. I also would like to thank my sponsors, the Spanish Embassy in India and Cervantes Institute, and also the college for bringing me here. That was a dream for me. But normally, who brings me with my poetry, who drives me here and there around my region, Galicia, is my old Ford Focus. It's my old car, second-hand car, that I really appreciate, that I really like. So I would like, if you allow me, I would like to dedicate my poem to it. It's parked near my house. I don't have a garage, neither a parking, but he sleeps on the street. And I miss him. I miss it. I'm having a very good time here in Kerala, but I miss it there, so I will dedicate my poem to it. I don't know if you know that in Spain we have 4 official languages. 4. Spanish, Catalan, Basque, and Galician. I come from Galicia. I write in Galician, and I would like to make my own language here. That will be my honor, and for sure your first time to hear some Galician. And it sounds like this. metrofobia. Ao fondo da paisaxe, a chuvia esvaece as nubes cun borrón. Esta folla de ruta milita na xograresca. Xa teño gana de partir e o meu coche é un soldado. Non vas oindo chifrar o seu cargamento sensible. As estradas comarcais parecen cadernos pautados. Gustaríame sucar os montes cun poema ao lombo como aos viaxantes. O meu coche unha bala prateada con ritmo en vez de pólvora. E eu digolle, vamos! Xuntos atravesamos vales, barrios de funcionarios. As grandes explotacións eólicas danme ganas de loitar contra os xigantes. O meu coche máis eu entendémonos sen dicirnos nada. Flores brancas do ibuprofeno, o meu coche é un soldado e eu digolle, vamos, recitar poemas a Monforte de Lemos e el acompasa o seu motor ao meu rexistro, repenica, badalea, aínda que teña metrofobia.
Myself Shruti, member of the Faculty of English. Metrophobia. Off in the distance the rain stains the clouds. This map is true for balladeers. I can't wait to go, and my car is a good soldier. Can you hear its sweet cargo whistle? The old roads open up like a ruled notebook. How I would love to scour the mountains like a sales rep, my case full of poems. My car's a silver bullet burning with rhythm instead of gunpowder. And I shout, vamos. Together we bear down on valleys, civil servant suburbs, and those huge windmills urge me on to face the giants. We get each other, my car and me, no words needed. Wild release of paracetamol, my car's a soldier, and I say, let's go read poems in Monforte de Lemos. And his engine hums along to my tune, rattles and sings even though he has got metrophobia.
So nice to be here. This is my first time here, of course, in this college, but also the first time for me in India. So thank you, Kritya2017, and thank you, all of you. And I will read one of my poems. It's called The Lake, in Swedish, sjön. Skall vi gå runt sjön, komma tillbaka till samma ställe, och gräset har inte ens hunnit resa på sig igen. I så fall kan väl filten lika gärna ligga kvar, och det som är kvar av bullen kan också lika gärna ligga kvar när vi går runt sjön och kommer tillbaka till samma ställe, samma bulle. Och då säger du att du känner för att gå hem, och jag säger att jag inte tycker att det är så bråttom. Och då säger du att du vill gå hem nu i alla fall, och då säger jag, varför det? Och då säger du, för att du vill det. Och då säger jag att det hade aldrig hänt om vi hade åkt till havet.
Thank you. The lake. Let's take a walk around the lake. Get back to the same spot, and the grass won't even have stood back up. So we might as well leave the blanket here and the rest of the coffee cake. We can just as well leave what's left of it while we walk around the lake and get back to the same spot, same coffee cake. Then you say, you want to head home? Then I say, I don't see what the rush is. Then you say, you're going home anyway? Then I say, why? Then you say, because you feel like it. And I say, this would never have happened if you had gone to the seaside.
Thank you. I'm going to read one poem in Dutch, which is a slice of life, a slice of 21st century life in Amsterdam. Ik ben achtergebleven in de nacht. Amsterdam-Noord ligt aan mijn voeten en ik heb er geen bestemming voor. Het kapitalisme is er gewoon, onder welke naam het zich ook verscholen heeft. En mijn gezicht is het gezicht van de recessie. Mijn lach, een grijns tussen dociliteit en pijn. Fijne motoriek is overgegaan in motoriek van de domheid. De motoriek van iemand die films kijkt aan een bureau, bier drinkt aan een bureau, gedichten schrijft aan een bureau. Gedichten geschreven aan een bureau worden bureaugedichten. Ik kost mijn economie geld, maar niet genoeg. Thank you.
I'm Kritya2017, and I'm doing my post-graduation in English in this college. Amsterdam nude. I was left alone in the night. Amsterdam nude is at my feet, and I have no destination for it. Capitalism is just there, whatever name it has put on to disguise itself. And my face is the face of recession. My laughter, a grin in between docility and pain. Fine motrics have become the motrics of dumbness, the motrics of somebody who watches films at a desk, drinks beer at a desk, writes poems at a desk. Poems written at a desk become desk poems. I am costing my economy money, but not enough. Thank you.
नज्म का उन्वान है टाइटल नज्म कहाँ रखी है मैंने। मेज के खानों में, टेबल पर, रैक पे, अलमारी में और बुक शेल्फ पे कब से ढूंढ रहा हूँ मैं। नई पुरानी किताबों के और आगे जुनून में, खद्दर के कुर्ते की फटी फटी जेबों में, ऊंट के चमड़े के बस्ते में नज्म कहाँ रखी है मैंने। पूछता हूँ फिर नेरुदा से, एमिचाई से, रिल्के से, अभी अभी तो रखी थी। नज्म को ढूंढते ढूंढते ही मिल जाते हैं कलम, दवात और पूरी कागज, लेकिन नज्म बयाज दिल से गायब है।
From the Department of English. The title of the poem is Where Have I Kept the Poem? In the drawers of my desk, over the table, on the rack, in the cupboard, on the bookshelf. I have been searching for it so long in frenzy. Through the pages of my old books, in the torn pockets of my khadar kurta, in my camel leather bag. Where have I kept the poem? Then I ask Neruda, Amikar, Vilke. I just kept it somewhere. As I search for the poem, I find the pen, ink, and the blank papers. But the poem is missing from the notebook of my heart.
Chief of Turkish Literature Review and a founder and a board member of Delta International Cultural Interaction. He has a handbook of, some of his work is Handbook of Every Book, Rest of the Words, Dead of Nature, an Encyclopedia of Forgotten Things.
I would like to greet everyone with highest of my respect and with my deepest love, especially Your Grace, esteemed professors and principal, and my dear Rati Saxena, all of my poet friends. I am very happy to be here with all of you in this hall. And I am very happy reading in this festival, which is dedicated to anti-discrimination, anti-racism, and bringing poetry to save the love for all humanity reminding all of us all humans are equal. This poem is called Your Name is a Deer Howling in the Cyrillic Alphabet. My wife is coming from Bulgaria, and she had to migrate to Turkey because of the discrimination in Bulgaria in early 1970s. And they changed her name when she was born in her birth papers. When we were going to marry, when I saw her birth papers for the first time, I saw her name written in the Cyrillic alphabet. And I thought some of those letters reminding me a deer howling with pain. So this poem is dedicated to her and all the Turkish people who had to move out from Bulgaria because of discrimination. Kril harfleriyle geyik sesidir adın. Karlı bir İskandinav ovası gibi açılan kağıtta gömülüp kaldığımız, atlarımızın geçemediği 6 haftada, usta der, diken yayı gerer, mavi bir güle dönüşür havadan anlayan o. Geyik sıçrar, zaman durur. Aşk ki usta nisancıdır, salimdir, yoktur. Yaralayacaksa kalbinden, öldürecekse kalkanından vurur. Çocuk flüt oyar ormanda ustasından habersiz. Göğüslerini Bulgar gülleriyle örterek gelir kız. Gelir toplayarak kuşburnu dikenli çalılardan. Usta der, diken yayı gerer. Aşk ki bundan başkadır ve düpedüz budur. Tek kollu, üstelik kör bir okçudur. Bulur her kabuğun en yumuşak yerini. Çocuk uyur atının altında. Uyur ustası, atlar, kamp. Geyik iner nilüferlerin kar tuttuğu göle. İner geçerek arasından çadırların. Kril harfleriyle geyik sesidir adının. Karlı bir İskandinav ovası gibi açılır kağıt. Çoktan bitmişler, küller, yolunmuş Bulgar gülleri. Koklar durur kurt, giyin ayak izlerini. Peki.
I'm Vinny Nurikoshi, doing my post-graduation in English language and literature. Your name is a deer howling, written in the Cyrillic alphabet. Your name is a deer howling, written in the Cyrillic alphabet. A paper unfolds like a snow-clad Scandinavian plain, which we sank into for 6 weeks, couldn't cross on horseback. Master says, the thorn draws the bow. The whirling arrow becomes a blue rose. Deer springs. Time stops. Love is a sharpshooter, cruel and non-existent. Hits the heart to wound, hits the shield to kill. The boy carves a flute in the forest, his master unaware. The girl comes, covering her breast with Bulgarian roses. She comes picking rose hips from the barked bushes. Master says, the thorn draws the bow. Love is something else, or just this. A one-armed, even blind archer finds the softest point of every shell. Boy sleeps under his horse. Master sleeps. Horses sleep. Camp sleeps. Deer comes down by the lake. Water lilies covered with snow. Comes down, passing between tents. Your name is a deer howling, written in the Cyrillic alphabet. A paper unfolds like a snow-clad Scandinavian plain. They have already gone, ashes, plucked Bulgarian roses. The wolf keeps sniffing the deer's hoof prints.
Very glad to be here for the first time in this wonderful country, this country that is a world in itself. And I'm very happy to share this poem with you. Otra vez abril. Pronto será otra vez abril. El aire, el sol, la tierra, la dulce lluvia habrán de repetirse como lo han hecho por tanto tiempo. Tú mismo habrás de volver a las andadas, así que prepárate para la emergencia. Y la emergencia será enamorarte otra vez de alguien, levantar árboles de la nada, sacar canciones de las piedras, ser fuego feroz, quemándote tú mismo en el intento. Thank you.
Warm greetings to all. I'm Mahalakshmi. I'm doing my post-graduation here in this institution. April, once again. It'll be April soon for one more year. The air, the sun, the soil, the sweetest rain will just repeat themselves as they have done it for so long. Yourself, you will be going back to your old ways, so be prepared on time for the emergency. And the emergency will be to fall in love with someone once again, to build up out of nothingness, tall trees, to pull up charms out of sheer stones. To be the fiercest fire, devouring yourself in the attempt. Gracias, hasta mañana.
Present cardinal points.
Yeah, please. I would say that, like a few other of my colleague poets, I'm very glad to be here, and it's also my maiden trip to India. So I would like to thank you all for being an audience, your grace, and the people here from the college for the invitation, and also Rati. Before I start my poem, I have a very important question. Is there anybody who can point out where the north is? Or the south? That's the south. That's south. Okay, thank you very much. I don't like to perform poetry in this confined space, so I will move a little bit and hope that it's possible to be able to hear me. Cardinal points for Kat and also for Peter. 4 is the number of the corners on a standard page. 4 is the number of sides on a standard page. In the middle of these sides, halfway between the corners, cardinal points are marked. To the north, a bearded redhead recites Beowulf with a castrate. There is no sun. To the east, a Rusalka analyzes Tambov poetry using Tartu semiotics. The moon rises like blood. To the south, to the south, an elephant searches his Hannibal to cross pink alpine peaks. The heat scorches the page. And to the west, the water of the ocean deepens with every Kontiki trying to catch up with the Galician, the Painted, and the Nina. The sea sets into the broadening sky. 4 is the number of triangles appearing when connecting the cardinal points on a standard page. 4 is the number of ways a standard page can be folded in 2. 3 is the number of parts one folds a letter to fit into an American envelope. 2 is the number of editors to work on the book. 1 is the number of poets writing the book. without taking into account the amount of poets inspiring the poet writing the book. And 0 is the number of days until. Thank you.
We'd like to invite Selahattin Yorgilan. He's born in Istanbul and he's been publishing poems and his work since 2000.
What did I like to think after the film? First of all, I would like to say I'm very happy to be here for a magnificent Kerala. This is my first time too. Atina. Nereye baksam öldüğünü görüyorum kendimi. Akşamın ağladığı saattir annesinin kucağında, anlat ona. Şarkılar uzak zamanların kızlarıdır. Çalgılar uzun saçlarında tarak. Bembeyaz evlerle yıkarken yüzünü mavi bir denizin kıyısında, babaannen gelse aklına. Ölme görmeden dedenin yıkandığı denizi. Yıkıntıları ömrümün durmadan hatırlamam. Nereye gömsem kendimi. Thank you very much.
I am Kritya2017 of the Department of English. Poem is Athens. I see myself dying wherever I turn my eyes. This is the time the evening cries on its mother's lap, telling everything. Songs are the daughters of the long past. Instruments are croons among those long hairs. What if you remembered your grandma as you wash your face with the whitest houses by a blue sea, who says, "Don't die before you see the sea in which your grandpa had washed himself." Remnants of my life continually remembered. Where should I bury myself? Thank you.
She uses the internal music in her poems, which gives actually the musical and spiritual touch to her.
All my friends, I'm so happy to be here with you for the first time in India, and I wanna thank Kritya because one of my dreams comes true because of her. Thank you.
يغمض عينيه يتخيلها امرأة أجمل. تغمض عينيها تتخيله رجلا يحبها. كان الأربعة في الفراش، هي وهو والمرأة الجميلة والرجل الذي يحبها، يعقدون أطراف الملاءة الملونة، كل طرف تمسكه يد. ربما يحتاجونها كمظلة لحظة الهبوط من السماء. ولأن جرائم الخيال الكثيرة القديمة والمخطط لها تستطيع الابتعاد والتحليق، فلم يشير يوما إلى الأمر. Thank you.
Good morning to all. I am Jacob from the Department of English, Marian's College. Orgy. He shuts his eyes, imagining her a prettier woman. She closes her eyes, imagining him, a man truly in love with her. There were 4 on the bed. He, she, the pretty woman, and the man who loves her. All at once, they gnawed the edges of the colored sheet. Each edge is held up by a single hand. Maybe they need it as a parachute. The moment they land from heaven, and because the crimes of imagination are many, the forgotten and planned ones, they can fly away and soar. They therefore don't refer to the matter ever again. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation, Rati. Thank you for being here and listening to poetry. I'm very grateful. So what I will do now is very normal. It's not fragmented. Tomorrow, inside, fluster of voices and images coming from the outside, far away, the smell of autumn leaves. Something inside, something else, something like the shadow of trees in the night. Words need speechless places. No waiting, no coming, not here. Dealing with life as if it was endless. I am sleeping. Your dream, waves, the sea, and somewhere, some ocean. Thank you. Morgen von drinnen. Dort sind so viele Stimmen und Bilder, sie kommen von draußen, von so weit weg. Und der Geruch von Herbstlaub. Etwas innen, etwas anderes oder etwas wie der Schatten der Bäume in der Nacht. Worte brauchen sprachlose Räume. Kein Warten, kein Kommen, nicht hier. Und das Leben nehmen, als wäre es endlos. Ich schlafe. Und dein Traum? Der Traum von Wellen, vom Meer und irgendwo etwas Ozean.
Before I begin, I have a confession to make. I love your city. As a poet, I feel every poem has a story behind it. So do my poems too. This poem began as a question from my 11-year-old son, who asked me once, "Dad, how are mountains made?" I could have given him a geological answer, but then the poem would not have been written. This is one of the poems that got written by itself. The Mountain Maker. Did the mountain maker build the thing up, stone by unhewn stone from foot to crest, and lead the rocks astray to heal the hollows of their supple cavities with mud marinated by the turning seasons? Or did he net a lump of loose brown soil on flat land like jaggery gone viscous in a summer without end, and mold it with the lined shell of bone and flesh, his fingers slapping the sides like barn slats, and his palm sheltering the top like a shrine's cupola, to check with a potter's precision the scattering of the only knickknacks rescued from a lifetime of teasing a little melody out of the plastic chaos of claycraft? And then maybe he sprinkled a neat net of crevices on the first such malleable mound, to make the underlying mortar immortal with green crepe, an unmistakable bookmark to his favorite passages on the spherical tome he keeps dipping into, never tires of. Thank you.
Morning everyone, distinguished guests, teachers, dear friends, everyone. I'm Gautami from the Department of English. Actually, I was supposed to be reciting the English translation of Sarabjit Saab's poem, but since he's already done the English translation, I wouldn't be boring you. But as a gesture of thank you, I'd like to give a token of appreciation to Sarabjit Saab in his own language. He's a Punjabi poet. Basically, he's a bilingual poet, but basically, you're from Punjab, I'm supposing. So actually, before the beginning of this function, some of us teachers, we were actually greeted in Hindi. Aap bahut sundar ho. So that actually shows how much all these poets from across the globe love this nation, love India, love Hindustan, love Kerala, and one of our poets just said now that he loves the city. So it all shows how much they love Ivonias and Trivandrum, and also in a gesture of thank you, I'd like to say thank you in your own language. बहुत बहुत बढ़िया था जी, बहुत चंगा था, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आने के लिए. Thank you so much.
Maharashtra Foundation Award, which is held in USA. He has written many poems. Some of his poems are Chautish Paryantacha Kavita, Poems till 34, Thambacha Yet Nahi, Just Can't Stop. All his poems have been translated in English, French, Spanish, German, Urdu, Malayalam, to say a few of the languages. His latest work is Ya Room Madhi Ale Ki Life Shuru Hote. The moment you enter this room, life begins.
Thank you. I'm actually from last 2 days experiencing a lot of different things. We went to jail yesterday and we read there, and I have not seen this kind of packed hall, for poetry. This is all because of Kritya and Dr. Saxena. Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming in big numbers. I'll read my poem in Marathi. मनातल्या मनात चित्र पाहताना, मनातल्या मनात चित्र पाहताना चित्रातले कळत नाही काहीच, आणि आपण असतो उभे चित्राबाहेर शीर्षकासारखे. जसा जसा सर्व अर्थ सामावलेला आपल्यात, तरीही आपण समजू शकलो नाही आपल्यातल्या अनेक चित्रांना. चित्र मांडली आहेत ओळीने आपल्यातल्या कलादालनात. आपण सरकतो एका चित्रातून दुसऱ्या चित्रात, किंबहुना प्रत्येक जणच चाललाय एका चौकटीतून दुसऱ्या चौकटीत, आणि प्रत्येकातलं चित्र डोकावतंय बाहेर, पाहतंय आपल्यातून निघून चाललेला माणूस कुठलं चित्र वाहून नेतोय त्याच्या चेहऱ्याबरोबर. धन्यवाद.
I'm Harsha from the Department of English. Painting. I'm looking for the painter who has left this painting incomplete. Perhaps he found the colors were insufficient, or he may have grown tired of this canvas itself. At least he ought to have determined the borders of this painting, so that in a dream that began beyond a certain border, the painting might have lived its full life. Now this borderless lameness is simply unbearable. Every line in this painting is lame, and just touching this painting causes cracks both to the painting and to the one who touches it. So everyone is afraid even to go close to the painting. The painting has been waiting for years for the painter. Of late, even the waiting is becoming sort of lame. Sometimes it feels as though he will come, finish this painting and go away. Perhaps it is he who is looking for the painting and is unable to find, I fear, remaining incomplete just like him. Thank you.
Magia. La vida es como un acto de magia. Un día estamos aquí y al día siguiente desaparecemos. Pienso en la habilidad del mago, en los detalles del truco. Tal vez lo mejor sea masticar sin odio, sin fe, como un conejo, ese trozo de lechuga sin cuestionar su naturaleza. Con toda seguridad, alguien nos está tomando el pelo. Por toda pregunta nos espera un enigma. Señoras y señores, nada por aquí, nada por allá. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Reshmi Koshi from the English department. The title of the poem is Magic. Life is like a magic show. Today we are here, tomorrow we disappear. I think of the magician's skill, wonder how he pulls it off. Perhaps it would be better to chew, without hate or faith, the piece of lettuce, like a rabbit, without considering its nature. Beyond a doubt, joke is on us. For every question there is an enigma. Ladies and gentlemen, now you see it, now you don't. Thank you.
Hello to everyone. Dear Bishop, dear Rati and dear friends, I'm happy to be here. I come from Greece, so according to Mr. Bishop, I'm a creator. I want to say that I'm happy to be here for the first time in India. I come from a country where both poetry and religion are playing a leading role in our society, in our nation. Poetry has an ancient DNA and religion has almost 2,000 years of history. The past few years, my poem is called Moral Teaching. It's written about the situation we are facing the past few years because of the financial and refugee crisis. So I want to connect and dedicate this poem to Rati because of the wave of xenophobia we have, because of all the refugees from Syria war and Middle East. We have a huge problem. My Turkish friends know very good this problem, and I want to dedicate this poem to all these changes and crises we are facing. It's called Moral Teaching. I'll read it in my mother language, Greek. Ας μην ομιλούμε για κρίση, είναι απλώς μια μεγάλη ανακατάταξη των δυνάμεων, είπε ο γυραιός σεισμολόγος στον νεαρό πολιτικό αναλυτή. Το ζήτημα πάντα είναι πώς εμείς διαχειριζόμαστε τις αλλαγές, τα ρήγματα και τις συγκρούσεις, τους μικρούς και μεγάλους σεισμούς, τις αριστερόστροφες μα και δεξιόστροφες μετακινήσεις, τις οριζόντιες και κατακόρυφες τάσεις. Ανέκαθεν νεαρέ μου συσσωρεύεται ενέργεια στα κρυφά και αναζητά μια έξοδο και μια φωνή. Ασφαλώς, το ζήτημα πάντα είναι πώς εμείς ετοιμαζόμαστε για αυτές τις αναπόφευκτες αλλαγές. Thank you very much.
Good morning all. I am Akhila Ajit, doing my post-graduation in English language and literature. The poem is Moral Teaching. Let us not talk about crisis. It is simply a big reclassification of forces, said the old earthquake specialist to the young political specialist. The point is always how we deal with changes, the breaches, the collisions, the big and small earthquakes, the shifting to the right or the left, the horizontal or vertical tendencies. It has been forever, my young man, that energy is secretly accumulating and is searching for an exit, a voice. Certainly the question always is, how we do prepare ourselves for those unavoidable changes. Thank you.
From China. He is a PhD student of East.
I'm glad to be here to read my poem. 初春，初春，与朋友二三行走在野外，公园出城，山岗树木不一而足，12种绿色，这里占了8种。温顺的动物越过水泥路面，伸长脖子，探头探脑，顾左右而言他。4月的风拨弄它的帽檐，午后最为疲倦的时刻，树叶静止，睡意催人。冬天的痕迹犹在，躺在干草中，烧焦的气味细若游丝。向他掷去一粒松果，随即被打开，各有各的心事，闷闷不乐的样子。这些年，在个人脸上轮番出现，一笑泯恩仇。回程的路上，留在马路中央的松果，被他一脚踢开。Thank you.
I'm Sandhya Mavelan from the Department of English.
Early spring with a few friends, I was walking in the wild. The park had just been built, hills, trees, and so on and so forth. 12 kinds of green here accounted for 8 kinds. Gentle animals crossed the cement road, stretched their necks, popped their heads in and looked about. We steered clear of crucial points. The wind of April stirred up her hat. Afternoon at the most tired moment. The leaves were still, drowsiness drove us. The praises of winter still there. We lay down in the hay. The smell of burning was like gossamer. I threw a pine nut to him. He then fended it off. Each had his own worries, a sullen look. In those years, turned up on each face. Smile obliterated love and hatred on the way back. The pine nut remained in the center of the road, kicked by him. Thank you.
I would like to invite another Chinese poet. He's a very young Chinese poet who just started writing 5 years back, Chen Qin Shoufu.
天黑之前，唯一可信的是云南的山。山有一座我爹的背，背是可信的。我侧了侧头，想要靠过去。黄昏时，阳光强烈，但它是短暂的。树林和田野也不能信赖。当我仰仗着山，远处变成忧郁的蓝色，冷色调也令我温暖。谢谢 ，Thank you。
Before it goes dark, the only thing that can be trusted are the mountains in Yunnan. They have my father's back. Back is reliable. I turn my head and want to be close to it. Sunlight is strong in the dusk, but it's transitory. Trees and fields can't be trusted either. When I look up at these mountains, distant turns into gloomy blue, and the cold tune makes me warm too. Thank you.
Best Poetry Festival in Netherlands for a long time, and it is the poetry festival which has the site who is having poetry from all over the world in all the languages. It is a wonderful poetry festival. He is a director of poetry festival, and he says that I am not a poet, but he is really a poet. So I want to invite Bas Kouwen. Please come.
I'm Bas from the Dutch department, and I'm not a poet, but she said that I'm not. Because I'm not a poet, I'm not going to read any poetry, but maybe I can find some time to share one opinion. And the opinion is that there are 2 rules in poetry. So if you want to write poetry, remember this, there are 2 rules. First rule is the hardest rule. The first rule is there are no rules. And this is really a very difficult rule, because you have to make the rules all by yourself. It's just you and the page or the screen. Very difficult. And there's a second rule. The second rule is you have to read more than you write. Very important. So if you want to write poetry, if you want to go further into poetry, if you have ambition, and as I see you all have great ambitions, you read 80% of your time, and then you write 20% of your time, and then you have everything to become a true poet. Just 2 rules to keep in mind, and that's what I want to share with you. And thank you everybody for being here. Thank you Rati for organizing this great festival. I'm very happy with it. There are 2 great festivals, not only Rotterdam, the other one is Kritya-Poetry. Thank you.
I'm sure this is a day that you'll never ever forget in your life, isn't it? Yes. And for students of English literature, this has been a day that will opened up vistas of knowledge to other cultures, right? So, we are winding up the day's proceedings, and a word of thanks to all of you who made this a wonderful day to remember. Our special thanks to our beloved Bishop, who spent all these hours with us to be a part of our happiness today. And a word of thanks to Ms. Rati Saxena, Dr. Rati Saxena for bringing these people to us. All of you wonderful people who came from all over the world. Thank you, Nandi, Veendum Variga. That means thank you, come back again and visit us. Thank you.
house. We shall begin our meal with a prayer. If you may please take your seat. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, which we are about to receive from your bounty through Christ our Lord.
Your Beatitude, Your Grace, Reverend Fathers, respected distinguished poets, guests. I'll just have 2 words about his Beatitude. His Beatitude is when he was made the cardinal. He was the youngest cardinal among the 100 above cardinals of the Catholic Church. His Beatitude is the chief patron of our college, which you have just now visited. And he was the Archbishop of a neighboring diocese before that. Now he's the father and head of the Malangara Catholic Archiepiscopal Church. Your Beatitude, these are poets from across the the globe. There are people from Mexico, from Sweden, from Algeria, from Turkey, from Cairo, from Sweden, from Belgium, China, all these countries. And this morning they came with us to the college and addressed a large group of students and teachers, and they recited their poems in their own language, after which our teachers and students gave the translation. It was well received by the students, and as we were coming out, our students came to me and told me that they'll never forget this event, and it has been so inspiring to them that, and some of them said that in future they hope to teach some of their poems in the classes, especially since our college is an autonomous college and we can design our own curriculum. We were looking at your poems, and I'm sure that in the next coming few years, some of your poems will be taught in our classrooms. That is a great achievement. And Dr. Adi Saxena, she is the chief organizer of this poetry festival, and she has been holding this festival for quite some time in Kerala, for people in Kerala, and we hope that she will continue to do that, because it brings people of different countries together as members of the family of man. Thank you, Your Beatitude.